Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 6:33. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up's agenda review. Don't have any amendments, Julie?
I need an employee matter for executive session.
Don?
I have two issues. One of them is probably going to be executive session. It concerns a parent sharing with me a concern about their student. So I would think it'd be executive session. And I told them that I would not divulge who it is, or certainly in the public session. And the other thing is, in reading the minutes, maybe we approve the minutes and then I can go back to my item under other business.
What was that, Don?
Okay, when I read the minutes, it reminded me this afternoon that there was that I brought up an issue last time and nothing happened. Nobody said anything. So I want to bring that issue back up tonight. It's concerning high school graduation.
Okay, under other business?
Yeah, other business. Yep.
And I do have an update on high school graduation that maybe I could do before the elementary administrators present.
Okay, so presentation on high school update, high school graduation update.
I'm responding to Dina. No.
Okay. Okay. Next up is correspondence, visitors, and public comments. I don't see any visitors. I don't have any correspondence. So I think we're good on that one. And then moving on to consent agenda, we have first up is the approval of the minutes from April 6th. No, that should be May 4th.
It should be May 4th.
So approval of meeting minutes from April 4th. May 4th. Terry's the first. Toby's the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting Hold
on, Chris, I had one.
All right. Oh, there you are. Okay. Yep.
I noticed on page 7 under check warrants, it has as me as making the motion to approve the warrants. I was not able to attend last meeting, so someone else must have made that motion.
We just used your name. It's okay.
Yeah, helps if he was there.
Right.
Is Steve here tonight? Because I know that he usually either moves it or seconds it. So
I believe he's the one on the phone.
Okay.
Steve, are you the one on the phone? Not sure. So as of right now, Steve's not here. So unless I hear otherwise.
It probably was Terry and Steve with that motion.
Oh, for the minutes?
Yeah.
It was Steve and Toby.
Steve and Toby for the check warrant. No, I'm talking about check warrants.
Oh, check warrants. It was Terry and Joanne. Yes, I actually write all that down. It's amazing. Okay, so we're ready to vote. I believe we are. So all those in favor of accepting the meeting minutes as adjusted, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Okay, first up, or next up is
Chris.
presentations, and we're gonna bump the high school graduation update in right now.
Chris, I just wanted to say I didn't vote on that, I abstained from that vote on the minutes.
I'm sorry, I thought I saw your hand up. Okay,
No,
so
that's okay.
amend that vote to 7-0-1. Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
And like I said, the high school graduation update presentation.
So it's not a presentation, but just given time, I didn't want to wait till our next meeting, June 1st, will be the high school focused meeting, but it's only 2 weeks before graduation, or less than 2 weeks really. So I wanted to make sure that the board was aware. We went out, well, first off, last time we spoke, we were hoping that graduation would be inside. That was the plan, that was the focus. In order to do that, we have to find out approximately through self-attestation who's coming that is fully vaccinated, because we can only have up to 300 people in that indoor space that are vaccinated, and then unvaccinated rather, and then any number of vaccinated folks. We were not getting the responses that led us to believe that we would be able to do that. So we went out this morning to Franklin County Field Days to look at some covered spaces. They were not appropriate. I think if it had rained within the first week before, we'd all be up to our ankles in mud. It would be a tougher venue to manage and so forth. It's just not appropriate, but we gave it a shot and looked at it. And then we all went out to MVU out by the kickboard and this behind J-Pod over where and I'm not going to pretend to get the fields right, but I've gone over that way to watch field hockey and so forth. So by that kickboard, we think we will put staging out there. We will have chairs for the graduates. We'll have an outdoor ceremony, and obviously we would have a rain date. I think all of the high schools in our community are doing that. Tried to do indoors, it just wasn't going to work. So I wanted to make sure that that was shared. We'll be sharing that out very quickly with community members, parents. Probably we're going to have people bring their own chairs even, but people will be able to have as many more family members present because of the outdoor venue. And I saw some hands go up.
I didn't see any hands go up.
I think Toby raised his hand.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you kind of answered it by you said people bring their own chairs, but then I was wondering if you need money. Because if you do, the board might be willing to see if we can somehow help you if you need money. Or I would think there was maybe some COVID funding for this because it's the reason why we're doing it. But anyway, that I just wanted
No. I appreciate that very much. We have plenty of funds in the operation budget for putting on. Really, now if we wanted a tent, we probably couldn't get one. It's a timing issue, but we will have. I can't tell you the conversations that have happened with frequently asked questions with Department of Health and the Agency of Ed around, is a tent with sides outdoors or indoors? And the answer is it's outdoors if one flap is open. But it really is a very complicated situation. But I think we're going to have the staging we always rent. That'll be perfectly fine. We have our chairs that we already, the folding chairs we already rent for our students. And then I think for families, bringing their own chairs will likely be the direction. But again, we were making that decision this morning, so none of those details are firm, but we wanted to make sure that the board and community watching had that information. That's all I had.
So Chris,
Go ahead, Don.
so before we leave that high school, when I reread the minutes this afternoon regarding my request that any school board member who has a student graduating would hand that diploma to the graduate, would ask you to probably step back 3 steps and somebody just step up and present it. Nobody said anything. So I applied the rule in our house with 2 teenage daughters. Silence means yes. Unless you say no, it's a yes. So I'm assuming that the administration has agreed that they will do it. If that's not true, then I'm going to make a motion tonight and call for a vote and see where we go from there.
Well, it's not really a big deal. Peter and I have actually talked, and I'm just going to step down altogether from handing out diplomas. Peter's going to step in and represent the board for us, and that way it solves all the problems all in one shot.
For this year.
For this year.
But the issue's not going to go away.
No, but with any luck in a future year, we won't be dealing with COVID and having graduations in tents and, you know, on law.
That's good.
Kind of thing.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris.
Yep. Peter.
Yeah, I just want to thank Chris for doing that. He came to me with it. It wasn't my idea, and I just wanted to say thank you, and I really appreciate that publicly that he was willing to do that. So thank you, Chris.
Yep. Good solution.
It was just an easy solution for now, and like I said, for this year I don't mind. And in a couple of years from now, I probably have a little bit more of a say wanting to stay up there. But
All right. You know, and we don't need to do it tonight, but at some point in time, it'd be interesting to see who has children coming along in the next 4 or 5 years, but not tonight. We've solved this one. Thank you.
well, actually, I think Jen and I have students at the same age, so this will be an issue we're going to have to figure out, I would imagine, at some point. So,
well, we'll get it resolved.
yep, we got a couple of years figured out.
It sounded to me like Chris was saying he wanted to be board chair for the next couple of years.
I'm contemplating it. We'll see how it goes in the next 6 months.
It may depend on how he resolves this issue.
Right?
But thank you, Chris. You did a great job. I'm pleased.
Yep. Okay, so with that, we can move back into our regular program and go on with elementary administration updates. And this month, first up is Joyce.
I'm coming on. I think I was first last month because Yeshua was putting his kids to bed, but I can go first again. I'm going to keep mine short, so I'm going to set the bar for them. So looks like it might be a long meeting. First thing, we were just so thrilled because we had a book giveaway right before April vacation. We had a really nice donation from a generous community member, and we decided we wanted to use it for books. And we got every student a new book. And what was really special about it was Mrs. Wilson spent so long trying to get a book that every student would love. You know, she didn't buy the same book for a whole class, and she really thought about each kid and what they kind of liked and what they took out of the library. And it was just such a wonderful day. The kids were so excited about the books they got to read, to share. And also as part of the day, every student made colored and put a book jacket for their all-time favorite book. And so now they're all up in the hallway. And it's been really neat to see kids walking and looking not only for their own book jacket and their favorite all-time book, but looking to see what other kids' all-time favorite book is. It was just really, really nice. And we so appreciated that donation. So a lot of May and June, I put in my report, are filled with state and local assessments. And I just wanted to list just the state and local assessments there. I didn't put in, there's also classroom assessments. because I just wanted you to see just what a comprehensive picture we get of how kids are doing academically. And we look at all of that information at our end of the year in service. That's why I've always loved having at least one day of in service at the end of the year, because we're looking at all that data from now until the end of the year and really using that for planning for students for their summer programming. Also for the fall transition, teachers go over that data with the next year's teacher during in-service in June. And we'll also be looking at that data for what our school as a whole school, different trends, what we need to look at for our goals for our school in the fall and all of our activities in the fall and next year. So, but it's just an incredible amount of assessment, and the kids have just been working so hard on, right now we're doing the statewide testing. And so for 3rd and 4th grade, neither of them had ever taken the SBAC before. And they are just put in just really working so hard. We talk with them a lot about what working hard looks like. And they've just been really just doing a fabulous job. It's a little harder today with now that summer has hit. It was a little better last week, I thought. But with baseball and summer weather, but they're trying hard to stay focused. We're also continuing our pre-K to K transition. We have numerous activities that we do for pre-K to K. There are a few activities, obviously this year with COVID that we're not able to do, but we are making sure we do all the activities on that timeline and that transition that we can do. And that includes just next week, we're having another meeting with Jen to talk about all the students, but we also have individual student meetings. Ashley, our kindergarten teacher, will be visiting the pre-K room, also our special educator. And we really do spend a lot of time. They usually do activities together, which this year we haven't been able to do. But sorry, dog's needing attention. And and then one of the things I included in my report this time was we do a newsletter every other week. Sometimes it's a K to 2, sometimes it's grades 3 to 6. It has all kinds of general announcements and community events, and we get submissions from the Haston Library, from the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts. But I just wanted to put in, this was just a sample of what one teacher wrote, because I think the teachers are so conscientious about letting parents know what their students are working on in the classroom, and they really just spend a nice amount of time. Sorry, let me just take care of this really quickly. Okay. Sorry about that. So they really are very conscientious about making sure parents know what kids are working on in the classroom, so that, when you have those nighttime supper conversations and say, so what are you doing in school? And kids say, oh, nothing. That parents can really say, oh, I know that you're working on, in this case, oh, you made balloon powered cars, and what did you learn from that? And really be able to talk about what's going on in the classroom. So I just wanted to include that, and I'm going to try to do that in different reports. Upcoming, we've got the Penny War rescheduled from when 6th grade was being remote, and kids are really looking forward to that. And Franklin Memorial Day will be the vehicle parade, and some of us will be in a truck riding around Franklin on that day. We have the kindergarten screening, another transition activity, on June 1st. And we have Fun and Fitness Day for kids coming up on Tuesday, June 8th. And then we have 6th grade graduation on Thursday, June 10th. And for the 6th grade graduation, we met with, can I just take care of this other dog really fast? I'm sorry. They've been alone for like 12 hours today. Sorry. I need a doggy daycare, sorry. So 6th grade graduation. So we met with the parents the other night, and as far as that goes, we had a really good meeting. I mean, very good attendance, 13 out of, actually no, 15 out of 17. We had 2 parents who weren't able to attend, and let them know basically what we have planned. On Tuesday, June 8th, like I said, we have Fun and Fitness, and that will be a day that the 6th graders will all be part of. That's why we have it before the end of school, which a lot of the other, classes would probably prefer if we had it on the last day. But we do it early so the 6th grade can participate. On Wednesday, we'll have an in-school celebration for the 6th grade, and that will be special activities with the 6th grade teacher. And then on Thursday, 6th graders don't come to school, and Thursday night will be graduation, and we will be having as normal a graduation as we can. I did send out a Google survey to parents to determine, as Julie said, the self-attestation of who is vaccinated and who, and not, it's all anonymous, but it's looking pretty good that we'll be able to have each family have at least six people attend. So we were excited about that. And I don't know yet how we're getting all the furniture out of the gym that's been stored in there, but we will get it out of there by graduation night. So we're going to have as typical, normal a graduation as we can. And we're looking forward to that and making it as special as we can for the kids. Parents usually come in and decorate, but that won't happen this year. So some of the staff and I will be doing that. And again, we're going to try to, won't be as nice as probably the parents would do, because they always do such a wonderful job. But we'll do the best we can to make it look as much un-gym-like as we can. So that's what we've got planned for graduation. And like I said, I think people were happy with what we could do. And I wish it could be everything everybody would want for graduation and just be able to have as many people as they'd like to. But I think that they were pretty happy with that. And I decided to still do the Google survey, because if we could have 8, that would really make people, make that work even better for people. And so that's why I did the Google survey, and I'm just waiting for a few more responses. But it's looking good right now, but we've got to get a few more responses. So that is it. And I'm so sorry about my dogs. They're both therapy dogs, and they're usually really well behaved, but they have missed me a lot today. Sorry.
All good, no worries. Thank you, Joyce. Peter.
Joyce, on graduation, do you need a school board member for diplomas? Have you already settled that, or you decided on that yet?
Well, I wasn't sure. We have done that in the past. I wasn't sure if somebody wanted to do it this year, and I was a little worried about it just because we're limiting families and limiting staff who could come. So, if somebody really wants to come that night, yeah. And again, we have usually had somebody, but I wasn't sure about it this year, and I know how busy you guys are, and I know somebody would do it if we needed somebody. But I just thought, well, with kind of limiting families and staff, maybe this year we might not do it, if that was okay with everybody.
My only other question was, are you going to be driving that truck in the parade? Because there is a speed limit on that,
No, because they're only going to let it go so fast. So I definitely don't want to drive it. I want the pedal to the metal. As long as I wasn't right, I want somebody else to ride in the back like I had to last year. No trailer this year, though. Thanks, Pete.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Swanton with Dina.
Okay, I just was gonna start. I don't think Justina has read our report yet, and that's okay. But I just have to let the board know what a tremendous job she has been doing with this whole transition. Setting up interviews, working with Julie, working with central office, and still doing her day job as well. She's taken the lead on our recovery team, working with central office, and she's just, she's gone above and beyond, and that wasn't her choice. So I just need to give her a public thank you. And I just want to let the board know that, transitions are really tough, and the idea that she is still going to be there is incredible. So that's just a public thank you, which she won't like very much, but she deserves it. As far as the transition goes, with these crazy end of the year schedules, Justina and Chris and I are going to be meeting On June 18th, he was really tight with days, so that will kind of be our face-to-face meeting with the three of us. But as I said, both Chrissy in the office and Justina have been in touch with him. So I think we're moving in the right direction with that. I'm going to just jump on a couple of Joyce's things. Yes, we are in the middle of SBAC right now, and I agree, last week was a little bit easier. In the central building, we shut off, after we do the pledge and everything, we shut it off, and we usually do an SBAC cheer, you know, to get the kids psyched. They got a little sick of that. One day I made a mistake spelling, and they thought that was funny. So now we've gone to college fight songs, and there's a, you know, so we're playing this motivating music, and we have a little contest to see who can name that college fight, so that, you know, it's just something to pump kids up. I agree with Joyce. Our kids have been working incredibly hard, and the teachers are working so hard to motivate these kids and to do the best that we can. Our biggest struggle right now is a lot of absentee, so those makeup tests will take some time as well. Within the newsletter, there was a bunch of happenings within our classrooms. The teachers have been great. I'm going to suggest that we do go back to a newsletter. We used to do that years ago. And when I was listening to Joyce talk, it's a really good idea, because each grade level would submit things, but now it's just kind of coming out of the blue. So that's really exciting. The one thing I want to really recognize, we have, I think this year we have 8 students who are not, they're taking the alternative assessment with SBAC. They're not a part of SBAC. So every day they get to be in the cafeteria, and this year's theme is Under the Sea. So these kids are learning that, one little girl told me an octopus has, I think, their brains in their arms and in their head. So they have 9 brains, and she thought that was amazing. The kids are having fun, they're learning, and we might, Melissa Sargent Minor told me that we might end up with an underwater plastic shark that is huge coming in. We did have a blow up dinosaur one year. So it's just, this group of teachers and paraprofessionals are coming together to support these kids, and the learning is just incredible. So every year that just gives me goosebumps when I think about what's going on in there. We also, in Swanton, we haven't, I guess for a long, long time, we don't do necessarily a graduation, but we do a recognition night. Toby has been a part of those in the 95 to 100 degree humidity and heat in our gym. That's when we get lots of people wondering if we're going to have air conditioning. And I think that would be a good time to vote on that, because people get very hot in there. This year, what we're going to do, because the timing, the new guidance, the old guidance, the are you vaccinated, are you not? When we do this, that gym is packed with like close to, I don't know, 300, 400 people, plus the kids. So that was a little overwhelming to all of us as we were waiting for guidance to come out. So we're not going to do that in person with families. But what we are going to do is during the day on June 10th, which is a Thursday, we're going to have our recognition ceremony. Our 6th grade classes in the building will come in, and they're going to sit by themselves in their own classroom pods because they haven't been mixing. We have invited our VTVLC 6th graders to come in. Jen Hines, who is their teacher, is coming in to be with them. So we're going to do the ceremony, and Channel 15 is going to be there to live stream it and to record it. So it will be pretty much immediate where families can get that as well. The rest of that day, the other thing we're not going to be able to do, our parents, as Joyce was talking about hers, they've always done a celebration after school. Some of your kids may have been a part of that, where they do games and it's all run by the parents. We also didn't see how we could do that this year. So what we're doing instead, the teachers are really going to have activities with just their classroom, because they've become a really close-knit group because they haven't mixed at all this year. They're going to do activities. The Abbey's going to be providing a barbecue for them at lunch. The rest of the school will have it the next day. And then they always do a team movie with popcorn in the afternoon. So each homeroom will do that as well. The parent support part of that is, we just had a meeting tonight. Parents are going to send in donations for a goodie bag, things like water bottles. PTO always supplies a t-shirt, and the t-shirt is designed by 6th grade students, and they are going to vote on that actually on Wednesday. And Jenny Jacobson was thrilled. There was like 20 entries this year, and the kids get to vote on it. So it's always been a very, very big and important deal for them as well. Our summer send-off, Justina was brilliant in trying to pull that together this year as well. It's an all-day outside activity, and she was able to create the schedule. So students are rotating. We can still do our lunch. We can't have an inside rain day venue, so we even have a rain day plan this year, but the amount of time and energy that goes into planning that is great. And the fact that we can do that for our kids is exciting as well. On our last day of school is when we usually do our step up day. And we're right in the middle of placement right now. We got parent input and teachers are working on that. We're going to have that scheduled for the last day of school, and our VT/VLC kids are going to get to come in, and our home study kids too, who are coming back next year. And that's an offer to parents. They don't have to bring their kids if they still don't feel comfortable having them in the building yet, but that's an option that we want to give them as well. I think I was trying to kind of follow the same themes that Joyce was talking about, but the end of the year is coming very, very fast. That's for sure. Oh, one other thing I will mention that is as a good public service, Justina and I are trying to make some decisions about arrival next year and dismissal. Our new systems have worked really well. They were put into place because of some of the COVID restrictions, but as you're going to hear a lot, I think there's some things that we might not want to get rid of that actually made things better. So Justina created a very brief survey for our parents asking for their input specifically about dismissal at the end of the day. We've worked really hard to make it quick so there aren't cars out on 4th Street or Grand Avenue, but I think getting that input, I think, will be very, very helpful. We think it's a much safer dismissal. You don't have cars in and out. It's much more orderly, and why we didn't do it years ago, I'm just not sure. But once again, Justina's the traffic cop on that and put this a pretty complex system into place. But right now it just runs smoothly. So we'll see what we get for information from that and hopefully make some of those decisions. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Dina. Any questions for Dina or Justina? Terry, and then Don.
Just, I wanted to add on to what Dina said in terms of Justina doing so much. And she does like to be behind the scenes, and it's just fascinating to see how much she's done over the years. And I think it's really great how Dina and her have been such a team. That we'll miss that with Dina being gone, but I'm sure having Justina gives, I think, a lot of people in Swanton extra feeling of safety, knowing that she'll be there too.
Agreed.
Safety isn't the right word. I can't think of what the right word is, but
Comfort, I think.
comfort, peace of mind.
Yeah.
Yes, I got a little teary, so I still am kind of in denial that Dina's leaving. So just catch me in July when it's more real.
Okay, go ahead, Don.
Dina, earlier you'd asked me regarding my executive session. It does not relate to the elementary schools.
Okay.
I want to tell you. But secondly, I just want to say to Dina, and I really appreciate what she's doing at the end of the year, and certainly given well-deserved accolades to Justina. But I think each one of us here on the board knows that you set the framework, you set the tone, and you make sure things happen the right way. So I just wanted to publicly commend you for being that type of leader, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Well said, Don. Okay, I believe we're ready to move on to Highgate and Yeshua.
All right. Hello, everybody. first I want to start off with Chris is not here tonight. Most likely he's had some pretty big back issues the last few days where he actually has been out for work a couple of days. So just wanted you to know that's why he's not here. He's not just enjoying the weather, you know, he's got some stuff going on. I always like to start out with a little story. So we have SBAC, certainly like everybody else, and I was helping finish up an SBAC on Friday with one of the grade 6 classes. And when they were done, you know, they had about an hour and 40 minutes in. We had 20 minutes left, so I took them outside, and we went to one of the T-ball rec fields, and they really wanted to play baseball without a baseball or without a bat. And so one of the students suggested I tell them they're going to swing and pretend, and I tell them where to run and where the ball goes. And it was actually super fun. And by the end, I probably had like 14 of the kids actually playing and randomly chasing balls that didn't exist. It was super fun. So I thought I would share that story. I got to tell kids where to run for about 20 minutes. One really exciting news for Highgate is we applied for the Cliff Year of the Book grant, which only 5 schools in the state of Vermont get, and we got it. We found out that news about a week and a half ago, which means we get $25,000 next year. And that is to bring authors in. It's to give tons of books out to kids. We're going to be able to give books to local businesses in Highgate, including the library, our classroom libraries, our own library. It's absolutely amazing. And a team of very dedicated people made that happen. Specifically, Mr. Davio, who is a paraeducator, and Mrs. Enterline, who is our librarian, really, you know, strung up that committee, and then a few of us helped out. But it's absolutely amazing. I'm still a little dumbstruck. I can't believe we actually got it, but it's a lot of exciting things happening for next year for sure. Like Joyce and Dina have said, you know, we're in the thick of SBAC. Luckily, we're doing a lot of makeups right now in science for 5th grade, but that has certainly taken up a lot of resources. Especially, we're trying to not mix pods, which makes it even more complicated, but certainly an all hands on deck. So staff have really been great about pretty much giving up parts of their job to help with SBAC, which means, of course, being very, very busy. So SBAC has gone pretty well. But one of the cooler things that Highgate does, they have a SBAC pep rally, if you don't know. And what they do is all the younger grades are assigned to a 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th grade classroom. And they make posters and signs, you know, saying, you know, you got this. And then we actually have, what we did this year was all the kids in different pods were lined all the way around the building. And pretty much Mr. Aylward played music and the classes all came out and we cheered. It happened to be raining that day. So it was just this awesome feeling of celebrating our kids who are taking it, but being together technically for the first time all year. So I think for me, definitely heart pumped a little bit as I'm physically seeing all of the kids in one place. So luckily we were able to do that outside with all those wonderful overhangs that Highgate has. Otherwise, I do not know how we would have made that possible. We also got to one of our school-wide rewards was playing Kahoot against the principals. So I played against K3 and Mr. Palmer played against grades 4 through 6. We both got crushed by our students. They certainly knew Disney characters or YouTubers much more than we did. So yesterday we wore shirts that said "My students crushed me," and got to walk around. All the kids were super excited to see that we were wearing the shirts that we swore we would. So that was very fun. We also recently had some training by Jen Patnode, which has been an amazing opportunity. She is an MTSS or multi-tier system of supports expert. And we've really used her to look at our system as a whole and just look at gap areas, things that could be fixed. And one thing she's really helping us to do is looking at our special educators and our interventionists and how we use them differently so that all staff are supporting all kids. And it's not necessarily by title. And it's an awesome idea in theory, not so easy to happen in practice, as Tanya and I actually have had conversations about it. So we're working towards there. I think baby steps for sure. We still just have a vision of what that can look like, but we're really trying to look at how we can support kids that need it by whomever the expert is, not by title, but again, by expertise. We're definitely also trying to figure out Step Up Day and how we can make that work. We've had the staff has thrown out a few ideas because students are always very excited to meet their new teachers. And it actually gives them a lot of anxiety, I think, if they go in the summer and they actually don't know who their teacher is going to be. So we're going to really try to make that happen. Because as I said, it's a really important day and it's an exciting day. So it'd be nice to have some sort of, these normal things that we're starting to do as our COVID restrictions are changing slightly, not that much, but slightly. We also are still going to do the water gun parade from last year, which from what I hear, Chris Shepard, you killed it last year with your family. That was something that families really enjoyed. So we're going to try to still make that happen. I think it's going to be one of the end of the in-service days, and we'll get in a parade, let families know, and we're going to make that happen. Very excited staff. I think that was one thing they were secretly hoping we were going to do again. So that should be very, very exciting. I'm really actually looking forward to that for sure. And to give you the specific idea for graduation, I attended a rec board meeting, and they, of course, were very supportive of us using the arena, which is just amazing. And, I don't think I realized how much space there really is until you're in there, because I was actually concerned about numbers. And one of the board members, she's like, oh, we've had 550 people in there. And that's way more than I want in there for graduation, but I'm glad they're going to hold that many people. So we're going to have family pods that will be marked there. They'll all get 4 tickets plus the graduate. So about 5 people per family. And I have emailed the Highgate board members to see if they would like to attend and give diplomas, which Chris has offered to do that. So I'm really glad we're able to make that work. And we also recently had a parent meeting giving all that information, sent out their tickets. And we had about half of the families in attendance. But of course, we recorded it so I could send it out to the families. So I think for graduation, as I said, we're very fortunate to have the arena. It makes me very comfortable because there's so much space that we don't have to worry about too much. I was definitely worried, kind of like Dina's situation, if we had to be in the gym, that would have really limited the number of, or if families could come, as we do have about 40 graduates, including VT/VLC. So it would have been very hard to spread them out and have other people there. So we're very fortunate that it's all working out. But that is all I have for Highgate.
Thank you, Yeshua. Any questions for Highgate and Yeshua? Seeing none, that concludes our elementary administration updates. Thank you very much. Let's see. I lost my place. Here we are. Presentation. Next up is recovery plan needs assessment overview.
So Kosha, Tanya, and Wendy are going to present as leaders of the recovery planning team. This recovery plan addresses essentially the ESSER 2 funding. It's not the American Rescue Plan. That will be a whole separate plan. But we want to present the priority areas and goals, and then Kosha will share a way that we'll be collecting written feedback from stakeholders, including the board. So you'll be getting a survey about that afterwards. So I will present, I will mute, and I will let them take it away.
Thank you, Julie. All right, so today we are going to give you a quick overview of the recovery plan, and then we are going to share the big goals that we came up with that we're going to focus on for this year, and then we are going to invite you to give us some feedback. Next slide, please, Julie. So the first thing I wanted to do is really recognize our recovery team members who have worked with me to create this plan. What we did is we took our team and divided us into 3 different subgroups so that we could work on those specific domains that we were supposed to work on for the recovery plan. So Wendy led the SEL mental health group, and Steve Messier and Yeshua were part of her group. For engagement and truancy, Tanya led that team, and Justina and Jeff Benet were part of her group. And then for academic achievement, it was Julie, myself, Jen DeSoga, and Joan Lumbra who just retired as a math coach in Swanton, but is a phenomenal data specialist. And so we had her work with us on developing this plan. And then just to remind you of the planning timeline, we are now in the portion of the plan where we actually have a draft. We worked with the Agency of Ed and met our liaison on Monday, and she has already approved of this plan. So we are now at that stage where we are going to be inviting all sorts of stakeholders to look at the plan and give us feedback on it. And this is the recovery plan process that we followed. We are right now at the portion that's highlighted in yellow, where we are going to be gathering information from stakeholders. We have about a week, a short turnaround time, and then our recovery team will meet next Thursday to finalize and incorporate the feedback that we get from stakeholders. And then we will be submitting it on June 1st. Tanya is going to talk a little bit about this slide.
So very often we refer to Maslow's hierarchy of needs when we're looking at student needs and how we meet those needs. And many of you are probably pretty familiar with this or may be familiar with this pyramid, but basically it describes children's needs in terms of starting at the very bottom, a child or a person's very basic needs around food and security and shelter, those primary basic needs, and moving up to safety, then belonging, and then that sense of self and self-esteem, and then self-actualization. So the thinking behind the pyramid is that children need to achieve or have those basic needs met before they're really able to access and benefit from the next sort of level of need and support. So we use this a lot of times to think about social emotional learning, about behavior, about readiness for learning and that sort of thing. And we just sort of have reminded ourselves of this pyramid as we're doing this work, in that during this pandemic especially, we have been focusing very much so for the last year in a state of ensuring that children's basic needs were met. So everything from basic food needs to basic supplies needs to that safety, right? So we weren't in school because of safety issues. We had health concerns. So we really were focusing on ensuring that those very basic needs were met. And that's where a lot of our energy and time went. And also that meant that children weren't in school. We kind of tried, but right, they were in that sense of belonging and community that they're used to being in. So we're just using this as a reference point to remind ourselves where we've been, and then the goal being, as we move forward, to really quickly, as we can, reestablish those practices and routines that get us from meeting basic needs, but then up into those higher levels, so that we can once again get kids back into their growth zone, which is usually something that's occurring more at those upper levels of the tiers. So ensuring that we have those basic needs met, reestablishing those sense of belonging and community, and just belonging in the school setting, and then really moving on to preparing kids for that self-actualization. And that's where those three buckets, or those three areas really kind of that are identified sort of fit with this pyramid in terms of social emotional learning, that engagement piece, and then the academic achievement.
Thank you, Tanya. And so one of our big discussions was really on prioritization. When we did our needs assessment, there are so many competing needs that then we have to figure out, okay, what do we have to focus on as students come back in fall? And so one of our tasks was really to look at our problems of practice and then prioritize or choose one from each of those three domains that we wanted to focus on for next year. And, a problem of practice is really that cause-effect relationship. Like, what is it that we can work on that's going to be high leverage, that's going to be actionable, and really connects to a broader strategy of improvement? So that was the task that was assigned to each of the subgroups for their domain. And then once they identified that one problem of practice that they wanted to focus on, they set a goal for each of those domains. And Wendy's going to talk about the SEL mental health and well-being.
Right. Thank you, Kosha. Moving on up that pyramid, we identified two problems of practice in our group. The first is to improve the multi-tiered SEL instruction and provide professional development for SEL competencies, and increase focus on mental health and well-being for all members of the MVSD learning community. So we're going to continue providing staff with SEL training. We thought it was really important to recognize that students, staff, children, and adults were all impacted by what we have just been through. And so that's why we landed on the wording of all members of the MVSD learning community. Our second problem of practice is to expand use of district-wide measurement tools to collect and analyze SEL, mental health, and well-being data. Pre-K and grades 7 through 12 are already gathering data on SEL, so this will expand it to be a pre-K to 12 continuum. Based on those problems of practice, we set the following goals. By June of 2022, increase the social emotional skills as measured on the Panorama survey by 5 to 10%, provide professional development and training to all district employees regarding all tiers of instruction, and provide training on district-wide measurement tools and how to analyze results on SEL, mental health, and well-being data.
Tanya, you're up next.
So within the area of student engagement, attendance, and truancy, we prioritized the problems to be developing a consistent student and family-centered support to increase student engagement, offering a variety of engaging strategies to increase learning and student engagement, and then increasing education and communication around the importance of attendance. So we're kind of looking at the problems being kind of twofold. One, around student engagement in their learning process and what that process looks like, and then around what happens when students are not in attendance. So those two ends of that spectrum, and how we're gonna increase attendance and increase engagement. So the goals then become increasing our student engagement from 49% to anywhere from 70 to 85%. And this data is a little bit of a range because we had a couple of different data points from the elementary to the high school. So we gathered them, we're kind of collating, but at the, taken together, these are about the averages that we want to see the increase to. And even 85% may not be our end goal, but for an annual goal, we set it at that range. And then again, increasing attendance to our pre-pandemic levels, at least getting initially right back there, and then analyzing further what else needs to be done beyond that point.
Thanks, Tanya. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our academic achievement. And again, similar to SEL, we really want to work on strengthening our multi-tiered systems of support. And the focus really going to be on high quality first instruction, and then using evidence-based supplemental instruction to meet the needs of all our students. So our goal for academic achievement and success is we want to increase student proficiency in reading and math by 10% as measured by our local assessments. And we also want to provide professional development in pedagogy, content knowledge, and curriculum to really have teachers develop that expertise to meet the needs of all our students. And again, our goal is to improve student achievement by at least 10%. And so at this point, what we are inviting is school board members, we are inviting parents, central office staff. We are going to ask our CASEL consultant who's worked with us on SEL competencies. We are also including Amy Irish, who's part of NCSS and works very closely with our schools. And Jeff Benet has already done like a preview of this with the Abenaki Parent Advisory Council. So we are inviting everybody to give us feedback on the draft plan. And so tomorrow, all our school board members will receive a Google survey. You will receive a PDF of the actual recovery plan that you can skim or read, and then provide us feedback on this Google survey. We are really seeking your input and feedback on the clarity of our goals and whether they are understandable. We are also asking you for recommendations if you see anything that's missing. So on the left, I just put like a screenshot of what that Google form is going to look like. It won't take you too long, but we would appreciate any feedback you can give us. And we just want to thank you very much for your support.
Okay, I see some hands going up. So I saw Peter's first, then Terry.
Thank you for the presentation. I just had a question on the engagement, attendance, and truancy slide. I'd like more clarity on what the first goal says: increase student engagement from 49% to 70 to 85%. I guess what is the engagement, and
so one
what
of
are we
the
doing?
questions, one of the questions on our panorama survey, which was given to our students in grades 7 through 12, was a question about engagement. And there are certain questions they have to answer, and then the data is analyzed by Panorama, and they tell us, based on the responses of students, how many students were actually engaged in learning this year. A lot of our students really struggled because of the hybrid model. Some of them found it very challenging to be able to work independently at home. If they had a question, the teachers weren't available because they were teaching the other half of the class. And so they had to wait till the evening when teachers were free in order to answer their questions. So it did impact student engagement. But we do have a baseline that 49% were engaged. And so based on that survey, which we'll be giving again in the fall and spring of next year, we really want to up that student engagement to 70 to 85%.
Yeah, that to me was very concerning, that we're only getting 49% engagement. So that's certainly something that we really should be looking at. So appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. I think Terry had a question.
Yes, thank you. My question kind of goes along with what Peter had just asked about. That was my question. And I think you might want to add this to your presentation. That's great. That's really clear and really well laid out. It was very helpful. The only question that I had was, you told us how you're going to measure the first one. You told us how you're going to measure the third, but you didn't tell us that second category. And if you just add that measured by the panoramic, since that's the data you're using, it might help a lot of people understand and not ask questions, give you feedback instead. So thank you.
Well, it is in the big recovery plan. I just didn't add it into this. So I'm glad that you asked that question.
It was kind of like Peter's question, but oops, sorry. I was just going to say Peter and I both had it. So I'm thinking other people might have the question.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Don? Don, you're muted.
Thank you, Peter, for asking that question. I thought that flowed very well, but when Tanya got done, I was like still trying to process what that all means. I'm not surprised that it was 49%, but it would seem that our goal should be moving toward 90, 100%. I think probably you're very realistic, but once we get hopefully people back to school, it's really scary though to think that only 49% saw themselves as engaged in self-reporting. But I think because sometimes people are inclined to kind of make things look better. But anyway, so that was one of my questions. My other question was going way back to who's on which committees. Can somebody bring that back?
And Don, I'll just comment while we're finding that slide. I think Justina might remember, we originally set our goal at 100% or like 95%. And then in conversation with a larger team said, okay, so in an annual goal, right, where should we be? So, but we agree with you. It needs to be, right? We don't want to say it's okay if a portion of our kids aren't engaged. That's not the end goal.
Okay, so coming back here, looks like some great teams, but I was surprised I do not see anybody from the Franklin School.
Joyce gave us her permission. She said she had full confidence in us. And I've been updating the principals every week with what's happening with the recovery plan. And I've been updating Joyce, and the Franklin School will definitely be giving us feedback on it. So she's definitely in the loop. Joyce, do you want to add anything?
No, I totally concur with you, what you said, Kosha. Don, Kosha definitely has been including us. Ashley was able to go to one meeting with a lot of different committees going on. In a small school, you've got a lot of people spread pretty thin. And we felt really good about what was going on. And as Kosha said, we've been talking about this at the administrators' meetings. I get all the information tomorrow. It's already on my agenda for the faculty meeting tomorrow to review the whole plan and give feedback. And we gave feedback on the last thing that they asked for. And so we definitely feel like we've been involved and really appreciate all the work that everybody's done.
All right, thank you.
Okay, not seeing any more hands raised. So thank you very much. And we'll definitely have a lot to read tomorrow, it sounds like. Yeah, still not seeing any comments. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to new business. And first up under new business is a transportation contract.
Okay, if you recall, I had brought to you transportation agreements for fiscal year 22 last board meeting. This is not at all a reflection on my feelings towards Act 46 or the losing Sheldon as part of Franklin Northwest or MVSD. But I was so used to omitting them from agreements in the last year that I took them out of the Grand Avenue transportation contract. And we actually still have a bus going to MVU. We send it to Sheldon and it returns to MVU with those students. And so I needed to amend the contract to include that bus. And I apologize for the extra effort. But I did include that addendum in the shared drive. That amount for the Sheldon bus to go from MVU is $51,197.40. That includes the 2.6% increase, as did the other portions of the contract. So I was just asking for the board to approve that addendum.
So at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the Giselle Transit addendum in their contract. Don's first. Devin's a second. Any discussion?
I do have a question, Laura. How many students do we get from Sheldon based on running that bus?
I don't know off the top of my head, Don. I'm not sure if Julie knows, but I can definitely find that out and email you tomorrow.
I'm just trying to get a sense, is it really cost effective? 51,000 is a lot of money. I think we should do it. But I'm just curious if it should make a difference. It should make a difference. Okay,
I will definitely ask that question and get that back to you tomorrow.
Okay, I also saw Peter's hand up, but it went back down. So,
Yeah, Dawn had the same question I did.
okay. Any other questions? Toby, and then Terry.
I guess I mean, I see Alberg is on there too, right? So same, or Alberg was already on the old one. Is that what we're saying?
Yes,
You're on the
Alberg
old
was
one.
already on. Sheldon was originally on, but Laura removed him out of habit.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is just an addendum putting him back in because we do have a bus going there. Terry.
I just wanted to ask about that because I think, Don, it's a great question. And I know you said that we're going to have it anyway, but maybe it is something we should look at in terms of tuition costs and bus costs and all that. I know you're looking at it, but I mean, we as a board ought to intentionally make a decision or something on that.
I'll get the numbers for Alberg and Sheldon both, and historical as well. You know, this year may have been impacted by COVID also, but I can get those numbers.
Yeah, I know, having worked with another high school in the past who cut transportation from ascending school, it does definitely have an impact. It takes very few students to make up the cost of the bus. Maybe it's 3 students. So it's, even though it's a big number, transportation is a huge reason why students come if it's unavailable. And it's tough. We feel like we're in competition all around us for those tuition students.
I'm not raising the issue because I want to cut it. I think that we need to have discussion because I think there's a way we can use it to our advantage to get more students but that's a discussion for another night.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Appears to be. All those in favor of accepting the addendum as presented, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Okay, next up is the financial management questionnaire.
Okay, I also included that document that was completed in the shared drive. Basically, and some of you might remember this from previous years, annually the business office, myself, are required to complete a financial management internal controls questionnaire. It's really an assessment of our internal controls in the business office and ensuring that we are following standards. We're reducing the risk to the school district. That information is complete and accurate in our processes and in our financial reporting, and that we're safeguarding assets of the school district, and also that there's checks and balances in place. This is a self-assessment. It is necessary for me to share it with the board. I, on the back, am attesting that, to the best of my knowledge, the answers I'm providing this self-assessment questionnaire are accurate and a representation of the operations of MVSD. So basically, I'm looking for the board to review and accept, hopefully, this report. And then this does not get sent into the AOE. It's more of an internal control, but our auditors will ask us for it. They will review it and they will confirm that it's been completed. I'm not sure if it has any questions about it, any of the items, but.
Is that something you can put up on the screen? I haven't been there to see it. Is it very long? Is it a lengthy thing?
No, it's not too long. I can share it.
While she's loading that up, we can go into a motion. Motion to accept the financial management questionnaire. Peter's a first, Terry's a second. Now we're into discussion.
Chris, I have a question.
I was going to let Don go first because
Go ahead.
I had a question about seeing it, and then go ahead, Peter.
Is that big enough for you to see?
Laura, are you obviously you're comfortable with the information on there is correct? Are you comfortable with the internal controls, do you wish to see any changes, or just your overall view of it?
I think we've made huge gains. Merging obviously has had its difficulties, and it's created a lot of extra work, but it's also allowed us to fine tune and some processes and some procedures. People in this office specialize in certain areas, but there's also a lot of checks and balances in place, and I think, worked really hard to improve some of our procedures and processes. So I am now much more comfortable than I was previously. Not that I was uncomfortable, but I think we've made a lot of gains, and we have all the right things in place. And I can tell you our auditing firm agrees with that and the gains that we've made. So yes, I think I would. Not that there's not always room for improvement, but yes, I think our biggest area that we will be growing in the next year or so will be, continuing to apply that new uniform chart of accounts. There is a new version of the business rules coming out, hopefully by the end of the year, and that has a lot of new information in it. So once again, we'll be applying that information, but we're working on it. Can you see this, Don? Is it big enough for you?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
And one of them I was focused on how we handle cash, because I know that over the years that's been an issue, not with MVU, but with schools in Vermont. All these different accounts and cash and who handles what. And then once in a while you hear how somebody lost their job because they dipped into $100 and wasn't theirs. There's one just here last year, like even not more than that. And then you've read this week's headlines about the town of Hardwick. You say, wow. But no, I think it looks good. Thanks for putting it up. I think it looks good.
I can tell you the cash issue, Don. We obviously high schools taking a lot. They do take in cash, and there's not really a great way to avoid that. They have ticket sales, they have admission fees. But we have this year, beginning of the year, created a new form that is completed every time there is cash collected. There are checks and balances in place. That money comes here and is always deposited, usually daily. It's never held more than a couple of days. And the people that touch that money are then signing off on it. So we've tightened up that process as well. And we did explain to them that really it's to protect everyone that came into contact with the cash. It's not accusing anyone of anything, but it's protecting the school district and the people handling the funds. Yep.
Thank you.
Toby.
Laura, this is just I guess a request. And I dates are very important in my work. So I noticed you didn't date it. But I think that would be a good practice, because I imagine you're going to be doing this every year or every quarter, or
at the end of every year following, at the close of every year, basically, is when it happens.
Right. So I just that would be my wish list, is if you could have a date that you're attesting to that or certifying to that.
Sure.
Because it's helpful for people who look at these things after things happen.
Absolutely. Good suggestion. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Looks to be. All those in favor of accepting the financial management questionnaire, raise your hand. Missing somebody. Oh, there's Jen. Okay. Motion carries 8-0. Okay. Let's see. Next up is examine early retirement side letter next budget cycle, which I believe is one of our findings for executive session.
Yes, I would hope that we would make a finding. Just it falls right in the category of prior knowledge would put one or more parties at a substantial disadvantage. But I just want in open session to say that association leadership came to us with a request that it be examined.
Okay, moving on to old business. We have new teacher hires.
So right now I just have 2 teachers since the last board meeting on May 4th. We have a first grade teacher who has been a long-term sub for us and is now moving into not a regular vacancy, not a temporary one, Kristen Eustace. And Heather Belrose is coming to us from, Dina, I've just forgotten. It's in Lamoille County. Was it?
Cambridge.
Cambridge. And she comes with several years of experience. So both are terrific teachers. We're excited to have them. I met with them both, and hopefully we will have more teacher meetings in the upcoming weeks for the next board meeting.
Julie, what's the grade level of the lady from Cambridge?
She'll be teaching 2nd grade next year.
Both in Swanton?
Both in Swanton.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to accept the new teacher hires. Terry's the first, Don's the second, and any Toby? Oh, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Okay, let's see. Now we're on to other business. Superintendent Evaluation Committee. We actually don't need an executive session tonight. Well, no, we kind of do. But the part that will come later with the survey from the board goal or the board evaluation survey. Be honest with you, I've been really busy. I didn't reach out to Terry at all. I finally did today. We're going to send out the evaluation tool to the board probably as soon as tomorrow. And then next meeting, we'll have an executive session where we can discuss the results of those feedback forms. So then next up, we have the Board Goals Committee.
Thank you. I would just say the Board and Goals Committee, the assessments, Julie, I think she sent everybody today a survey for the Board Goals assessment. Yes, Julie, did that go out to everyone?
Well, I put a link to a draft in so I could share it with you all. And if you want, I can share it, screen share it, so you know what you're going to get a lot of surveys in the upcoming week.
I was just thinking we are, aren't we?
If you want, I can share that with you because you're going to get 2 surveys really coming out of the board goals. One that Terry and the committee is working on are about your work as a board together. And the one and your processes. And the other is to collect your opinion, how well you think we did, and then enter examples of how well you think folks did in your board goals, which were to, evaluate the superintendent and do those pieces. The internet is incredibly slow right now, so it's just spinning endlessly. Hopefully it will open up pretty soon for us. This may not be the way to go about it. And then Terry.
Terry?
Yeah.
Do you want me to see if I can?
I've got it, Terry. You talk, I'll look.
Okay, you talk, I'll look. Okay, so as Julie was saying, you're going to get a lot of surveys, but in this case, there's going to be 3 surveys having to do with board and supervisor. So the one that Chris was talking about, we'll be sending it out. I'll be sending it out in a Word document so that you can feel comfortable that it's not on a link or being shared. It's being confidential between board members at this point. And then we'll tally up so that like we talked about last time, there'd be a process where we'd send it all to Devin, and Devin would kind of compile it and then bring it up in executive session at our next board meeting. So with this one, when Chris and I send that out to you, if you could I'm just trying to think if you're going to be able to respond to it. You know what? I might have to do a little work. Just make sure you can respond to it online instead of having to print it out and scan it, because I'm not sure everybody could do that. Well, let me ask a question. Is there anyone who could not print it out, scan it, and send it back to Devin?
I'm not sure, Terry. We scan documents, but we do a lot of through loop signatures and stuff like that. So I don't know. I have to ask Susan. If I know we certainly send documents, but I'd have to look and see.
It's only the superintendent one that's like that. The other, so the superintendent one, we can work on that. Whoever, I'll send it out that way, and whoever can't do it. Devin, does that seem, or do you have a better idea for that, the superintendent one?
I think that's fine. And if anybody's having trouble, let me know and we can just figure out how to cross paths sometime and get it dropped off.
Oh, okay. That's great. Or I could help somehow. Okay. And then the other two are definitely surveys that you just take right online. And those other two would be, number one, what do you think about how we've accomplished our goals? And that's the one that Julie's going to show you, the board goals and the district goals, as you can see here.
It's coming.
Okay, that's good.
So, and this too is anonymous because you can set up a survey to collect email addresses. So I know Terry filled it out, Devin filled it out, etc. Or you can just not collect email addresses, and you don't know who answered which way. But it's really broken into the school board goals. The first one, developing operating expectations and evaluating the board's own performance annually. It's a not achieved to fully achieved 5-point scale. And then what tasks, what tasks would you say are examples of you doing that, right? It may be one thing, it may be 3 things. And the same with developing a superintendent job description and evaluating the superintendent, and again, they're basically, did you do those things or not do those things? And then what we also put in there, what goals would you like to see the board work on as a body next school year? And then the next section is our district goals. The board will support the overall student achievement in our MVSD schools so that it'll continue to improve and achieve and achievement gaps for students who struggle will close. Did we fully achieve that? Well, you supported it, so I don't know how but we haven't closed the achievement gap yet. But what tasks? The board asked for more data. The board, set a goal itself, which helps do that. Those kinds of things. What do you think you would list there? The same with your other goals. And then what ideas? Because the district goal committee wants to hear brainstorm of ideas. We've already had some great ideas Toby threw out. Advocacy with the legislature as a possibility. So put them right in there. And those will get collated and the data will be shared with the board as a whole. So I don't know, Terry and the rest of the committee, do you want me to send this out now?
I think our committee decided that we'd like to send everything together, and
Okay.
Our committee is meeting tomorrow night, and we're going to try and get the board process survey, which looks very similar to that, except for we don't ask you for examples in that one. It's a pretty quick survey. And so that one we're going to try and slim down some of the questions, and then we'll put them together hopefully and send them out to people. Anybody on my group, is that what we're thinking, or any other ideas? Okay.
Toby has a question.
Yeah, I just have a question because it may make a difference on tonight. Are we saying we're going to get these forms to do like in the next day or so, and the plan is next school board meeting, or so in 2 weeks, 2 Tuesdays or whatever, the board is going to get together and discuss, in particular, I'm wondering the superintendent's evaluation. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So that'll be done with just the board, and will Julie be in or not?
No, that would be just the board.
Just the board. Okay, because that makes a difference on. I know Chris and Julie. I spoke to you on another matter. So I think knowing that the timing, yeah, I okay, that's helpful to me. So I didn't realize that was going to occur. I was wondering when, if that was going to occur. So that's helpful to me. Thank you.
Does that make what I was saying about waiting till next week?
Yes, yeah, that I just didn't know what I didn't know that was the game plan, or I shouldn't say game plan. I didn't know that was the timeline. I didn't. So that's very helpful to me. Thank you.
To be quite frankly honest with you, we were actually probably supposed to do it at this meeting, and I just flat out dropped the ball and never got a hold of Terry or anything. So that's why I got pushed back a little bit.
So that makes more sense from when I talked to you and Julie earlier. It's coming more into focus for me now as far as the timeline too. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't follow up with you either. It's one of those. Yeah. So, but I would say this is that the most important one is the superintendent one at this point, because the compilation of the board assessment of ourselves and our goals, we'll probably spend much more time talking about that together at the retreat, but it'd still be nice to have it filled out before then so that we can look at proposed goals and the committee can do a little ahead of time stuff. So, but if you have a priority on which survey to fill out, you want to, in terms of these, you want to fill out the supervisory one. I'm sure that the COVID response team will say, fill out their survey first, but we're going with the superintendent and then that other survey. So thanks.
Okay. Any questions for the board goals group? Seeing none. We've kind of bounced around a little bit. I think now we're actually on the facility committee. We did meet May 10th. Feels like a month ago. I guess it was just last week. And EEI came and presented to the entire committee. And what they did is they kind of gave us a basic overview assessment of all the buildings, and they gave us like 3 options, kind of the Cadillac version, somewhere in the middle version, and then probably the more practical version. And what they were looking for is kind of a direction that we were looking to go in. Just an example, at MVU, one option was to possibly tear down a couple of pods, build a whole new set of buildings, but it also came with a very, 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 very large price tag, which is would have been nice, but is not stomachable for our taxpayers. So they were looking for guidance in kind of what box we should be in and what direction they can really focus their deeper dive assessments. We haven't re-met after that meeting to really talk as a committee. We had some brief discussions while they presented. We're kind of having a hard time finding a date around graduations and end of year commitments and stuff like that. But I believe at this point, we're tentatively planning on meeting about mid-June some point. Where we as a committee will have a much deeper discussion about this and be able to provide better guidance to EEI. So like basically all the buildings need attention. I mean, none of them are, not well maintained. They said all of the buildings, our building grounds directors do a fabulous job maintaining them, working with what they've got. They do have some age systems. They do have some areas of need, and we're just going to start figuring out kind of the heavy hitters first and the most top priority, and try to work out a 5, 10, and even 20-year plan and the direction we want to go to be more planful for the future and maintaining our buildings. Peter, Don, I miss anything? Peter.
You didn't miss anything, Chris. I just wanted to after that meeting, I was listening to the radio and they were talking about the Burlington High School and all the problems they're having with the PCBs and stuff. And looking into it, they're saying pretty much any buildings, any schools built between the 30s in late 70s is a good possibility that you had PCBs. And I'm just thinking, is this something, I mean, nobody wants to open that box, but is that something that we should be looking at? Have we looked at? Because we certainly don't want to invest a bunch of money in these schools, getting them up to par to find out that we have problems with PCBs, and we got to, we don't want to be where Burlington is, and they're going to have to build a new school, and they may have to look for a new site. So just now's the time, I guess we need to think about that.
Well, Peter, the legislature is thinking about it. They have a bill to mandate PCB testing. It doesn't come with any remediation funding because, of course, you can only imagine what that would look like. But that is something that's being debated right now. The only positive news I would say is recently Tom Flanagan, their superintendent, shared with me that, and others, that they tested a couple of schools that were built at the same time. They may have even been built by the same construction outfit. And the high school had the issues, the other school of the same age did not. So that made him feel like it's not all the buildings, right? But I do think that it is something we will likely be doing anyway. I would be shocked if they didn't have us test. Laura, I don't know if you have a different opinion.
No, I completely agree with everything you just said. It's concerning to me that there's no funding associated. I mean, I hear what you're saying, the dollar figures would be huge, but I'm not sure what we will do if something is found in one of our buildings, but that's, for us to figure out, I guess, if we do have a problem, and fingers crossed we don't.
Joanne.
So my question doesn't feel as important now that Peter brought up the whole testing of all the schools. My question is more for me to just educate myself. So the next time that you guys, the facility team meets, it's going to be to kind of pick what the best avenue might be, and then you bring it back to the board, and then at some point we have to have this is something that the public starts voting on. Like, at what point, I guess, does the board vote and things are okay and we move forward, versus this needs to wait to be, this needs to go out for public voting? That's more my question.
Good question. Absolutely. This next meeting, the next meeting that we're going to have as facility committee is basically for us to digest everything that was presented to us. We're going to then kind of give EEI a direction that we want to go, whether they gave us 3 options on almost everything. So say we go with option 3 with one school, option 2 with another school, whatever. We're going to focus them on what direction we want to go with each school. They're going to do a much deeper dive assessment. And then even once that assessment comes back, the facility committee will look at it again. And we can even pick and choose out of that what we decide to do. We don't have to do everything they bring to us. So if they have some things that are, concerns but not urgent, those can slide off and they can go into more of a 5 to 10 year plan. And then the things that are more urgent, we can then start moving towards looking at funding. And at that point, it would definitely be a lot of discussions with the board, how to market it to the public, and any funding we go with, basically we have to have voter approval. There is some leeway with some of the stuff because of the performance contracting, and that would be more Laura's department as far as what doesn't need public vote than that does. But a lot of hands went up when I was talking, so I'll let Laura kind of answer my question that I muddied up there, and then I'll start with Terry and then Don.
You never muddy it up. You always do a great job. Just like Chris said, we will work through the process. We will keep fine-tuning the scope as the board or the facility task force thinks is appropriate. And then EEI will keep revisiting and keep tailoring and keep working through the process. That process could take a year. It is not a quick process. It will take time. So I think that's part of the question you're asking is kind of along the time frame. Every single funding option, there's different funding options. It will probably be several different funding options that the school district could consider to fund projects like this. And the short term or the long term may decide that. There's bond proceeds available in Highgate. Those have already been approved by voters for capital projects in Highgate. There's almost $2 million left in that, but exactly what they are spent on and those priorities could be shifted. And we would, of course, be transparent with the community around that. ESSER funding is able to be used for capital construction projects in response to COVID or planning for COVID or return to school or part of our recovery planning. But there are a lot of regulations and compliance issues that the AOE is still working through on that. None of that would start prior to next summer at the absolute earliest. It just simply wouldn't be allowed or accepted at this point with ESSER funding. If we moved with a bond, that would have to have another bond that would have to have a very formal bond, Vermont Municipal Bond Bank bond process that would have to be followed, and that would require formal voter approval on a separate article, not part of the school budget. That again, I don't think is something necessarily the facility task force is looking at for the next year or 2 or 3. I think that would be down the road for a larger scaled project. What we are considering, I believe, and part of what is attractive to a performance contract, which the board has engaged in, is the opportunity to engage in a municipal lease that could be a 10 to 15 year lease. It does not require the same formal board approval that a bond that requires. It requires
I just want to clarify. You said board approval, but you meant
voter approval. Excuse me. It doesn't require formal voter approval, but it does require transparency and community input and review and all of that along the way. So lots of different options, but I guess I would like to say that we're not there yet. This is a long assessment period, a long evaluation period, and that's kind of the intent of the process, is to really evaluate and tailor it to exactly what you all decide is what you want to propose to any other group. And then we look at financing.
Okay. Does that cover your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Terry. Terry, you're muted.
Sorry, someone told me if you press down on the space bar that it's supposed to make you unmute it, but I guess it didn't tonight. Anyway, I was asking about when I looked in the drive, I was looking at the summary there of the report, and I noticed that it gave costs, those 3-tier things you were talking about, Chris, for all the schools, but I didn't see one for Swanton. So I wondered if I was missing the page. I found it fascinating to look at all the others, but I was wondering about Swanton.
There should be one for Swan. There was definitely one in the presentation.
They inadvertently, it's the chart she's talking about though, and I think during the presentation they said they somehow it got erased. So he hasn't sent that to me. We did discuss it, but I can have him send it. He hasn't sent me an updated presentation, but we did discuss it.
Okay, thank you.
Don.
I just want
Don, you have 2 sessions open. That's why it's so much feedback.
Comcast told me I was bumped off, so I came back on. So
Julie, can you delete one of his sessions?
Yeah, take one off. All of a sudden, Comcast said unstable connection. Bingo, I was gone because I got. I just wanted to share with the other board members, and I thought Joanne's question was really very pertinent. This is going to be a lengthy process. This is not going to be something we'll decide in a few weeks or a few months. I think they're very cautious. I think they're thorough. I was a little disappointed, and I'm going to express it, and Peter and Chris may not agree, but I think with the Franklin School in particular, they mentioned 2 or 3 things we needed to address, only to have Steve Ballard said they're already done. So I think we're going to have to make sure that we go back and be very clear, and we understand what they're doing. I know that the first pass-through was cursory and they were just trying to hit the highlights, but that concerned me a couple of times that they said that, only to find out the maintenance man said, no, it's been done. But anyway, I think they're a good company and I think we'll get there, but we're talking years.
I agree with you, Don. When that first happened at the meeting, it was concerning to me, but they did share with me after the meeting as well. They apologized. They copied and pasted a slide from Highgate. They kept 2 bulleted points in there. It was more of an administrative issue, a more not cutting some items out. They're perfectly aware of what the schools need. They did apologize again, so I should share that with you.
Joyce.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Don for saying that because we were pretty disappointed in that. We spent quite a long time meeting with them over that day, February vacation, and especially I wouldn't want the community to think we needed a new roof after we just had the new roof. So yeah, so hopefully the next round will be, as we said, it's going to be a long process, but that was a little disappointing. So thanks.
Any other questions or comments for the facility committee?
Just a question now that Joyce spoke up. The big thing about Franklin, it sounded like, was space, and I was just interested to hear what Joyce's opinion on what we could do or what the situation is.
Well, I think that when they came the first time, even they said that we were incredibly efficient about using all of our space, and COVID has made it worse. But basically, the state added 2 grades to every school when they added 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, and so that really did put a space crunch, in our school. And we have a one room that's used as the music room, the preschool room, and hopefully someday, for art. But just having music and preschool in there has really, every year, Jen and I have to go over how can we fit in the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds and the music program. And that's just one issue. So definitely space is an issue. The school was built for X amount of classrooms and basically and we love having the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds there, but truly they added 2 grades to every school.
So it's something we definitely need to address.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. EEI has actually been great, just to say in general. The gentlemen that have come by and asked me questions have all been very good and very thorough. Is there a way that I could get shared whatever that presentation was, just so I had an idea of what's going on? It also might have been in some location, maybe I didn't look, but I would love just to see what they presented. I did see at one point some options they had for Highgate specifically. I know it's a lengthy process. We're not making decisions, so to speak. Am I in the shared board drive? Should I know that?
Yeah, you probably aren't. Yes, I don't.
Oh, I was like, oops, that could be what
Principals were. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I always get to throw "I'm a newbie" card out, so that.
You only get, Joanne will tell you, you got a small window on that. You're coming up on the end of it.
I am.
Yeah, we'll make sure that principals get a look at this because it's been a long process. And again, this is the 30,000-foot direction of do we build whole new buildings? Do we do wings? Do we do something in between, or just patch stuff up? I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but yes. We want to make sure everybody sees that.
Awesome. Thank you.
And to that point, and a little bit to what Joanne asked, I know our last couple of report backs have been pretty vague, but at this point, what we're getting for information is still kind of at that really, like Julie said, at that 30,000-foot level. So we don't really have a lot to present. We're just starting this long journey. So in the future, there will be a lot more information coming back to the board, because that's one of our goals, is to be as transparent as possible through this whole process with the board and the public. Okay. Any other questions or comments for facility committee? Seeing none, we can move on to our future meeting dates, which is the next one is June 1st, 6:30, virtually as they have been. And unless somebody has something to add, at this time, we would have a motion to go into executive session for, let's see, an employee matter, parent-student matter, and early retirement side letter. And I believe we're going to invite in Julie for the early retirement side letter and the employee matter. Don, what about on your parent-student matter?
Definitely would like Julie there.
Okay, so we'd like Julie for all three. So if anyone has anything to add at this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session. Terry's the first. Toby's the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of entering executive session at 8:18, raise your hand. Motion carries 8-0. Okay, we are back into open meeting. We're out of executive at 9:21. There's no motions needed out of executive. So unless somebody has something to add, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Chris, Julie doesn't need a motion on terminating the employee? Well, no,
No.
okay, no, it's on paid leave. Okay, you don't need, okay. Yeah, all right, I heard you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Devin's the first. Peter's the second. All those in favor, raise your hand. We are adjourned at 9:22. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.